समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So verse 17 today, and I will read it first. उत्तम पुरुषत्वन्या परमामेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकात्रयमाविश्य विभर्त्य व्यय ईश्वरः. But distinct is the Supreme Purusha, called the highest self, the indestructible Lord, who, pervading the three worlds, waking, dream, and deep sleep, sustains them. Now, see, any student is going to ask that first the teacher has been saying there is only one Purusha. Then the teacher said there are two Purushas, the Kshara and the Akshara. And in this verse, he is saying that there is a third one. So any student is going to go confused and say that how come you talk of non-duality and then you are talking like this? See, these are different levels. These are different intellectual levels of explanation. That is all. So here he says Uttamaha. Uttamaha means that which is the absolute reality, the highest. Uttam, आप किसको कहते हैं उत्तम? Supermost, the best, the highest, isn't it? So here he says Uttamaha Purushatvanya. That is, dekhiye, absolute reality hai. And but how, I'll explain that to you. And he says distinct is the Supreme Purusha, called the highest self, the indestructible Lord, who, pervading the three worlds, waking, dream, and deep sleep, sustains them. Now, he says that distinct from these two कौन सा? These two, आप जो हैं, देखिए, I'll give you an example. Dreamer and dream, ये दो मानिए आप, ठीक है? हाँ, call the dreamer is the indestructible, हाँ, and the dream is the destructible. तो क्षरा and अक्षर हो गया, पर what is the reality? The reality is neither the dreamer nor the dream. The reality is the waker, isn't it? The reality is the waker, because of whom the dreamer is possible and because of whom the dream is possible. सोच के देखिए, the dreamer and the dream cannot exist without the waker. It is the waker's subconscious mind that is pouring, unconscious and subconscious mind that is pouring out into the dream. So what is the reality of the dreamer and the dream? The reality is the waker. Got it? So here it is, this is the third Purusha, that Kshara and Akshar are both unrealities. Both are unrealities. So here he says, another example, देखो, I'll give you. Again the same example of the water in the bucket. ठीक है? Now water in the bucket is Kshara. ध्यान से सुनना है. Water in the bucket is Kshara, which can be destroyed. Okay? Water emptied, nothing. Acha. The reflection of the sun is Akshara. Akshara. Acha. Now I'll explain it, just a minute. Huh? And the absolute reality is the sun. absolute reality is the sun. The reflection को हम अक्षर यूं कहते हैं because reflection neither came nor went. The reflection is a reflection of the sun which is always there. The reflection has always been there. You just provide a reflecting surface and the reflection will be there. है ना? हाँ. So then क्या है? Reflection is compared to the water in the bucket. Reflection is akshara. Reflection cannot, I mean, the sun cannot be destroyed. So the rays of the sun cannot be destroyed. And it is the reflection of that reality. And therefore, indestructible. It neither came from anywhere nor went anywhere. You just provide a reflecting surface and it will be there. So the reflecting surface is the kshara. Reflecting surface is the kshara. Reflection relatively is the akshara. And the supreme reality, which is permanent reality, absolute reality, is the sun. So this is another example. But you talk of them, they are one, but you talk of them as different. Another example that Gurudev gives, you see, uh, uh, you can call them 2 3 conditions, but they are one. Like, see, the CEO of a company, the same man at home is a father to his children. Man is the same, but he is the father to his children over there. So he will be called father with relation to the children. He cannot act as a CEO over there. In the company, he cannot act as a father because he is related to the company as a CEO. So when he is related to the company, he is a CEO. When he is related with the children at home, he is a father. Related to his wife, he is a husband. Related to his mother, he is a son. Now, isn't it the same man? The same man. So many things. Coming closer to yourself, take an example. You talk of a beautiful woman and you talk of her beauty as one thing and the woman as another. But are they two different things? No, they are the same thing, but you talk of them differently. Or you say, that lady's hair is very lovely. But to whom does the hair belong? To the lady itself. Na? So you talk of them as different, hair and lady, but it is the same thing. Similarly, here I'm giving you an example: father, wife, sister, brother. If there are no children, can anybody be called a father? No. So, in relation to something, the absolute reality takes a name, takes a form. With relation to something, it becomes something. With relation to me, it becomes who I am. With relation to the student, it becomes the student. But the reality is the one and one alone. ठीक है? So this knowing principle, अच्छा ड्रीम का भी ये देखिए, ड्रीम गॉन, मान लीजिए ड्रीम खत्म हो गई, ड्रीम खत्म हो गई तो ड्रीमर भी खत्म हो गया. थिंक अबाउट इट केयरफुली. हाँ, ड्रीम गॉन, ड्रीमर गॉन, absolute reality is the waker. Now the waker still has a memory of the dream. Isn't it true? The waker has a memory of the dream. So how come when he was not even a waker, he was only a dreamer, how come he had the memory? He had the memory because he is the same person. He is the same pure consciousness that became a dreamer. The same consciousness became the dream. And the same consciousness became the waker. Consciousness is the same thing. So consciousness is the knowing principle. is pure knowledge, is the knowing principle, which knew in the dream, which knew as a dreamer, and now as a waker remembers that dream. Isn't it? Even when you are in deep, deep slumber, take that stage. When you are in deep, deep slumber, even at that time, ये देखो ये तीनों states यहाँ दी हुई है ना, who pervading the three worlds, waking, dream and deep sleep. So I'm just explaining that to you. Dream का हो गया, waker का तो all of you know. That waker, all knowledge that you get is through that knowledge principle. The ability to know, which comes from him. No dead man can know anything. Charged by him, dynamized by him, you know. So, waker and all knowledge you gather in the waking state is because of him. Dream exists because of him. And deep sleep, I'm telling you, you say that, ma'am, in deep sleep, nobody knows anything. Right, you don't know anything. But when you wake up, how do you say that I knew nothing? You say that I know that I slept peacefully. I know that I knew nothing. कहते हो या नहीं? How did you know? Think about it. Maybe you had a very disturbed sleep. I don't believe you. You say, no, I know that I slept very nice. How do you know? So even in deep sleep, it is the pure consciousness, the pure principle of knowledge that allows you to know. So there are no three different purushas. वो कहने में अलग अलग हैं. कहिए तो भिन्न न भिन्न, जैसे रामचरितमानस में कहा है, सीताराम जी के लिए कहिए तो भिन्न न भिन्न. ऐसे लगते हैं कि दो अलग अलग पर अलग हैं नहीं. Now, see, another example which Gurudev has given is a beautiful example. I'll explain that. He talks of the pot space. Again, space. Space का example है. There is a room. In that room, there is a pot, mud pot. Now, there are three spaces कहने को. Pot के अंदर की space, you can call it pot space. Just for example, you call it pot space. The walls in the room condition the room, and what is the room space called? Room space, isn't it? This is the space occupied by the room, so you call it room space. Okay, then outside the house is what? Space, outer space. Now these three you are calling with three different names: pot space, room space, outer space. Okay. Break the pot. Can you anymore call it pot space? No, it becomes the room space. Pull down the walls of the house. So where is the room space? There is no room space. Merged into the outer space. The same is with great grand reality. Inside me, it is the pot space. Right. Outside in the entire world of things and beings, it is the universe space. And beyond that, it is just space. You are talking of it as three. You are talking of it as three different things, but it is the same thing. Okay. Now, so come to the next verse. यस्मात् क्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः. Now, in Vedanta, here also the same word, Purushottamah. Purushottam in Vedanta is called Parabrahma, not Brahmaji. Brahmaji the creator, no. This is Param Brahma. Okay. Now, Parabrahma, and because it has a nasal sound, in English you write Brahman, A-N. In English you write, because that nasal sound has to come, Brahma. from the nose. So now देखो, अब ये यहाँ पे देखिए इसका ट्रांसलेट, एज आई ट्रांसेंड द पेरिशेबल and am even higher than the imperishable, therefore I am declared as Purushottama. So he is declared as Purushottama because see, he is higher than the illusion, he is higher than the person seeing the illusion, and he is the one that makes the illusion possible. Therefore he is the highest. And इसी में आप, for example, water, the reflection in the water and the sun's reflection in the water and the water in the sun. So the sun is higher than both of them, isn't it? Without the sun, neither the reflection is possible, nor neither the reflection can come, nor the reflection is possible in the water. आप पानी भी रख दीजिए, कुछ भी करिए, पर अगर सूरज नहीं है, there will be no reflection, isn't it? So without that Param Purusha, without that Purushottama, there can be no reflection in the water, and there can be no consciousness in any being. There can be no universe possible. As again the same example, without the waker, the dreamer is not possible. Without the dreamer, the dream is not possible. So what is the ultimate? The reality क्या हुई? Reality is only him. Reality is the supreme self alone. Huh? So here ये देखिए, the changes of the world that you observe, that you even observe changes in the mind, you observe changes in the body, but all changes को watch करने के लिए there has to be a solid platform. It is a scientific fact that you cannot see change unless you are in a stable unchanging place. आप एक जगह खड़े हैं तो आपको दिख रहा है कि कार ऐसे करके गई. If your car and the other car is moving together, you don't see the movement. See, when you're higher up in the plane, na, when you're doing an air travel, you must have noticed that if the plane is very, very high from where you can see nothing, only the sky and no clouds, no nothing, can you see the movement? No, there is no movement. You feel the plane is steady. Unless you see a mountain, with connection to the mountain, you can feel the plane moving. With connection to the sun, you can see the plane moving. ठीक है ना? With connection to the clouds, you can see the plane moving. But unless and until there is a stationary platform, no movement can be observed. It is not possible to observe any movement, right? So you have to be standing in one place to see. So what is that steady principle? There must be a steady principle because you are watching movement of your mind, you are watching changes in your body, you are watching changes in your intellect, you are watching changes in situations. Huh? You are watching changes in situations. You say, oh, I met that person after 20 years. How old he has become? Why? Because your observation post is 20 years back. And therefore you see the change. But with which power do you see the change? That power, he says, I am. Because I do not move, there is no movement in me, there is no dissipation in me, avyaya hai. So all those things fit in over here only. So uh, only with reference to the perishable, to the kshara and akshara, you can say that he is the only stable. और जिसको आप अक्षर कहते हैं वो भी उसी का रिफ्लेक्शन है. That is why you say akshar. Akshar with relation to the kshara. Right. Okay. So then that is why he calls himself Purushottama. Huh? So he is known by the highest, he is known by the term the highest spirit, Purush Uttama, the highest being, the highest power, the absolute reality called the Purushottama. Now come to the next one. यो मामेवमसम्मूढः जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् भजते मां सर्वभावेन भारत. He who undeluded thus knows me, the Supreme Purusha, he all knowing worships me with his whole being. देखिए, whole being का क्या मतलब है? What is your whole being? Body, mind and intellect. That is the only vehicle you have for knowledge. You cannot know without the body, mind and intellect. So he says, with the whole being, he who worships me and who has come to know me, thus knows me. And who knows me as the Param Purusha, who knows me as Purushottama. Once the knowledge has actually taken place, that you have imbibed the knowledge from the teacher and digested the knowledge from the teacher, only then can you pray like this, that with the body, mind, and intellect, because each organ of your body understands that that is the Purushottama Parampurush, because of which the whole world exists, the whole universe exists, because of whom all things function, that which is just the knowing principle, that is the awareness in anything and everything. So once you know that, you worship him with your whole being, O Bharata. He says, okay, now see, all our indriyas are created outward. That is why it is very difficult to know this thing, because for trying to know this, you have to turn all your senses inwards. You have to become an introvert to think deeply. See, whenever you want to study or concentrate and all, can you do it in the marketplace? No. Can you do it on the railway platform? No. So, where can you do it? You seclude yourself, sit in a quiet, peaceful room, close all the doors, tell everybody to hush up and not make a noise. Only then can you glide into this state of consciousness. Otherwise, you cannot. Your indriyas are all turned outwards and they are nicely, madly into the world of objects, emotions, thoughts, people, situations. So even when you listen to a good teacher who has explained very well to you, you still do not understand because you have not tried to digest the knowledge. So for digesting the knowledge, doing manan, what they say, you have to sit quietly inside. Once you understand that the joy is not outside, it is inside me, myself, you will sit quietly, you will not run around. Gurudev used to give an example of a man coming home. He used to give a long story and act it all out and all. I'm not doing any of that. Just telling you in short that the man comes home from office. He's had a bad day at office, a fight with the boss, whatever. And he comes home. Now the housewife brings the tea. She thinks of bringing the tea, but then she knows the mood of the man is bad. So she sends the little child, तुम ले जाओ, पापा को चाय दे आओ. So that little girl comes with the cup of tea, gives it to the father. Now the father is only looking for an excuse to shout around, blow up everybody, negative, because his mood is bad. So once he sips the tea a little bit, he realizes there is no sugar in it. So he shouts from there that, what kind of tea have you given me? There's no sugar in it also. You don't do things carefully. At least put your mind to work, this, that. So she shouts back from there. The sugar is there. Just pick up the spoon and stir it. So then the man stirs it. And true enough, the coffee or tea is sweet. This is the example Guru Dev gave for saying that that sugar or that happiness is inside you. You only have to pick up the spoon of manana, deep introspective thinking, and stir that, and your life becomes sweet. Your life will become beautiful. Your life will become sweet. And that the wise know that the bliss is not outside, the bliss comes from within. But generally, human beings keep on looking outside all over the place, all over the place. मुझे इससे सुख मिल जाएगा, मुझे इससे सुख, power, position, money, love, love from individuals, relationships. People run after all a bigger car, a little bigger house than your neighbor. You know, people keep running out after these things. Why? Because they imagine happiness coming through them. Time and again, time and again, you have seen that you run after something and that very thing kicks you. Or even when you get it, as Gurudev used to say, the moment you embrace it, haha, now I've got it, it dies in your own embrace. There is no joy in it. You soon realize that there is a momentary joy, very, very momentary joy you got, and thereafter. And how did you get that joy? It did not come from the object as you imagine. It came because your mind, the agitation waves in your mind that I want this, I want this, I want this, those waves have settled down the moment it comes into your embrace. Your mental agitational waves settle down. And the moment the mind becomes peaceful, the joy emerges from your own self. That is the secret of happiness in life. It is not outside, not outside at all. It is totally inside. Now, once anybody understands this, then he worships with greater love, with greater understanding, with complete understanding that the happiness is inside me. And identification with this, that, and the other stops. And there is a complete identification with the Lord. You start loving the Lord, and love is proved with identification. So, identification with the Lord, when you do, believe me, divine powers come inside you. Divinity shines through your mind and intellect. Divinity shines through your actions. And people wonder. The happier you are, the more the people wonder about you, that what is wrong with you. Why do you keep smiling all day? You know, because happiness is bursting from inside you. You don't need an object. You don't need a relationship to connect to. You don't need a bigger car or a bigger house or a diamond necklace or a this or that to complete your happiness. Interesting thing Subodhananji used to say, that's a gem, that if a bigger car or a better car increases your status, then the car is bigger than you. सोच के देखो. You plus a car become higher, and you in yourself were nothing. So, so think about it carefully. So once you empty out every rubbish and garbage from your mind and you go inwards, you empty out all the kama, krodha, moha, mad, matsara and all that from your mind, the mind becomes very, very pure. And when the mind becomes pure, there can be a total surrender and the mind glides to the Lord. And the thinking of the Lord becomes a permanent feature in your mind, and you will notice that you are all the time with Him, and that gives you the happiness. Now, come to the last verse of this chapter. It says, Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam Purushottam Mayanagha etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. This has two important words which you can notice. One is Guhya Tamam Shastram. गुह्य तमम, देखो ये जो तमम होता है ना, दिस ऑलवेज इज अ सुपरलेटिव इन संस्कृत. जैसे आप कहें पुरुषोत्तम तमम, पुरुषोत्तमम, आपने देखा था ना, वैसे यहाँ पर क्या है, गुह्य तमम. गुह्य इज सीक्रेट एंड तमम द सुपर मोस्ट सीक्रेट, द बिगेस्ट सीक्रेट. ये तो इस वर्ड का हुआ. तो नाउ लुक व्हाट इट सेज. Thus, this most secret science has been taught by me. This is Krishna speaking to Arjun. Has been taught by me, O sinless one. He calls Arjun Anagha. ये देखो, Anagha, ऊपर last word. And Anagha means the person without sin. So, is Krishna trying to? He is complimenting Arjun as a student whose mind is totally attentive and rested. Any student whose mind is totally rested and completely in tune with the teacher, he will get this knowledge. Otherwise, no matter how good the teacher, no matter whether you are learning in an ashram or in a home, whatever it is, the best and best of teachers, the student will not imbibe. And that is why it is called a secret. The secret over here only means that you will not catch it unless you are anagha. Anagha means when your mind is totally without agitations, totally pure mind, a restful mind, completely attentive mind is anagha, without agitations, without any without any turbulence in the mind. So such a student is a very, very attentive student. And this is, see, this subjective essence can only be discovered when the teacher catches you. Gurudev used to say, when the teacher catches you by the nose and shows you, okay, this is what the knowledge is. On your own, you cannot get it. That is why also it is called a secret. You read the Geeta on your own. I have seen many, many people, many great university graduates and postgraduates and doctoral researchers who come with a halo around their head that I am a big Jnani. They try to read the Geeta on their own. They get mostly confused. Unless the verses are revealed to you, unless the secrets are opened for you by a teacher, you will never, never get to know the reality of the verses. So he said, that is why he calls it Guhya Tamam Shastram Idam Uktam Mayanagha. So I have here taught you this most secret science, he says, has been taught by me, O sinless one, where the mind is very receptive, calm, attentive, peaceful, totally agitation free. Okay. Now, knowing this, a man becomes wise. Once you know your own reality, you will become wise. है ना? When you know that you are running after things that are not going to give you happiness, that is what is wisdom. जब तक आप you are looking in a desert for water, you are churning sand to gain water or milk. Can you get it? It doesn't exist there. Sand is powerless to give you milk or water. You can keep churning it all your life. You can say that I have been churning it for years, and yet there is no result. See, many people used to come to Sidhbari and tell Swamiji, Swamiji, I have been here for 15 days. I've been listening to you for 15 long days. Every lecture I have attended. but doesn't seem to be any improvement in me. I am the same old idiot that I was, and I'm as foolish as I was, and as unhappy as I was. Why? Because this quality was lacking. That his mind, intellect was full of garbage, which he had not emptied out, and he had not tuned himself up to the teacher. That is why it was like this. So he says that, taught by me, O sinless one, knowing this. So if he had imbibed it, the man becomes wise. He knows how to live his life intelligently to gain what he is searching. And what is he searching? Complete happiness, permanent bliss that cannot be found in anything else. You can get temporary thrills, yeah. You can experience short, simple pleasures, momentary happiness, but you can never experience permanent happiness, because it is dependent on what you are looking for, is dependent on something that is powerless to give it. Connect only to him who bubbles through your own self to make you smile, to give you that kind of happiness. And he says that first he becomes wise and all his duties are accomplished. See, one thing is to physically accomplish all the duties. Even then, people are not happy. This word is very interesting. This word kritakritya. When you say I'm kritakritya, means the actual translation will be I have done all that needed to be done in my life. I have no more duty left to carry out. This is what it means. Huh? Krita kritya. I have done all. Krita karma. I have done all that needs to be done. And then the peace that comes onto the soul after having finished all your duties towards the family, towards the world, towards the society, towards everything, to elders and youngsters, everybody, then the peace that descends on your soul, the happiness that comes to you is called kritakritya. Now he says that he becomes wise and all his duties are accomplished, O Bharata. So he says that those duties are what? देखो, it is only like this, that एक तो होता है actual duties you have finished. एक होता है the mind tells you that I have done maximum as I could to the best of my capability. The rest is all over. Whatever I could do, I have done. Now the ball is in the Lord's court. That is a kritakritya bhav. Otherwise, work never finishes. You can go on and on and on and on. You have seen people in their late 90s also, still into active life, still going on and on and on. Because they have that feeling that ये चीज नहीं है उनमें, कृतकृत्य भावना नहीं है. It is not that I have done and I have finished. Take the example of Swami Tejomayanand. Look what a big thing for somebody who is the global head of Chinmaya Mission to give it up in one stroke, completely and totally. That is what is the feeling of kritakritya. That is the feeling of kritakritya bhav. I have done to the best of my ability all that needed to be done, and pass on the baton to the younger people. Let them carry on. You have done your bit. So this is what the thing. Uh, हाँ, तो ये है कृतकृत्य, yes we have done, and this is the फलश्रुति. Actually this last line, इसको कहते हैं फलश्रुति. Generally, when you are closing a spiritual chapter or a stuti or a uh, you know to the end of a scriptural chapter is always a phalashruti, that somebody who does this will get this phala. So यहाँ क्या फल है? That you will become wise and all your duties would be accomplished, O Bharata. You will get that feeling of being krita kritya. So now then also he will be steady minded, alert and vigilant. He will get that feeling of completeness. It's a complete feeling of fulfillment. That is what Gurudev uses the word, that he gets a feeling of fulfillment, kritakrityata. Complete sense of fulfillment, as Gurudev says. And also he does not make a wrong judgment in his life ever again. Whatever he does is right. Whatever he does is a wise act. That is what the person becomes. And he accomplishes whatever was expected of him in this life, and that is called the final realization of the Purushottama stage. He himself becomes Purushottama. Yes, he gains divine powers. Now then, the last bit we are doing. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishastu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashodhyayah. It says that thus in the Upanishad of the glorious Bhagavad Gita. Please remember that the Bhagavad Gita has the status of an Upanishad. After every chapter, it is said that in the Upanishad of the Bhagavad Gita. So, all the truths that you find in the Upanishads are there in the Gita. And the dialogue between Krishna and Arjun, the 15th chapter discourse ends over here. So, that is a this is Sankalpa Vakya, as they say. Okay. Now, Gurudev had given us a lot of instructions after this, but I'm just telling you in short what the instructions were. And that was basically that this chapter propounds the highest truth. Here, Krishna is talking of the highest principle of life. And to understand this chapter completely, please remember, everybody, all those who are listening, the 5th verse is very, very, very important. 7th, 8th, 9th verse are also important because they explain the nature of reality. But the 5th verse is extremely important to understand this chapter. So Gurudev used to say, first do what is given in the 5th verse and then read the rest of the chapter. Believe me, it's not easy. Even one thing in the 5th verse to do is not easy. But if you are at it all the time, every day, daily, adhyatma nitya, vinivritta kama, तो अगर आप वो करेंगे ना, रोज 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 पढ़ेंगे उसको और उसको अप्लाई करेंगे in your daily life, believe me, you will follow this chapter and you will also become kritakritya. So we finish here this chapter. Next time, 16th chapter. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.